check out my video that I did with the Imbiber right here. Welcome back to SkinnyBru Rugby, guys. So as you know, for a while now I've been struggling to actually do a video with the Imbiber. I actually got it right. If you don't know him, he is also a YouTuber. It's a Kiwi living in Japan for the last 16 years. And I've just wanted to do a video with him for quite some time now. Just about the World Cup coming up, with the Springboks now playing this weekend against Japan. Just what he thinks about what's going to happen in the World Cup. All those type of things. Guys, just keep in mind, we did do this recording last Friday, so it is about half a week ago. So Wales was still ranked #1. South Africa has not announced their team by then, so there might be some weird things. But if you do enjoy the video, please hit the subscribe button and let's get into it. Give everyone a recap from where you're from and what's going on. How long have you been living there?
Alright, so I'm the Imbiber. I'm from New Zealand, of course, from Napier in the North Island. I spent a lot of time down the South Island too. Hurricanes, Highlanders, Hawke's Bay supporter if you know who they are. And I came to Japan about 16 years ago and really never left. And yeah, love Japanese rugby. I think it's a very cool style. And I got into this because I try to want to educate people about it a little bit more. I think there's a lot of assumptions that sort of do get thrown around a bit. And I just want to clear the air a bit, and from a good perspective and a little bit of a less biased perspective too.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a bias amongst Japanese rugby. A lot of people think it's just a bunch of foreign guys playing over there. That's not a lot of only Japanese players going on there. And from your videos there, you've also enlightened me a little bit on how the guys are coming through the ranks, how they are coming through universities over there and so on. And it's quite good. So, since you're from New Zealand and you're living in Japan, who are you actually supporting for the World Cup?
That's a tricky one. I think I'll support both, and if they meet miraculously in that quarter-final, which could happen, I think I will probably wear my All Blacks jersey underneath this jersey here. There you go. Definitely got foot in two corners there, eh?
Yeah, you can't disappoint anyone. So Japan itself, how do you think, are they ready for the World Cup? Are they ready to host it?
They're definitely getting ready. Excuse me, do you mind if it is 6 o'clock somewhere. Just got to get the
it's 6 AM here.
There you go. But yeah, the merchandising is on point, as you could probably see from this. There's the beer, of course, excuse me. And I mean, what else have we got here? We got cards. They got cards coming in everywhere. Chips. Japanese playing chips there. There you go. All Black ice cream. What else? I mean, I've got it all. Energy drinks. Do you want an energy drink? It's got the Japanese team on it. They're really ramping up, so it's quite cool to see. There's a lot on TV. Has that really got into the real average Joe public? Definitely from the rugby side of things, everyone's just can't wait. But from average Joe, still getting a little bit of a education to go, and it is still, they do get behind their team eventually once they see a game. I think that Russia game will be a real key for the nation to get behind them, and it's kind of a good that they put the Russians first because they'll get that win. I'd imagine they'll get that win. But, that'll really get the whole tournament into the swing of things, especially on the opening game there too.
Okay, no, that's great. As long as everything's ready. It's also looking like some of the fans are getting into it. I saw a video recently of a bunch of Japanese fans learning the South African anthem.
Yep. They've got all teams. It's amazing that they'll go the extra mile, and I think if you see any of the players that come here, they realise that the fans are just mad. The Sunwolves games, you should really before you judge the Sunwolves, and they have their misgivings, you should come to a game because it's really good game day experience, and I think it's very unique as well in the whole rugby sort of atmosphere, and you could learn a lot from them as well, and how they merchandise stuff, how they do the whole sort of game day experience from when you come to the stadium until you leave. You know, it's a really good, enlightened way of looking at rugby.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because a lot of other countries are kind of in a place where rugby was always the biggest thing, and now it's kind of fading down, whereas in Japan it's the smallest thing and it's kind of going up. So other countries should get pointers from Japan to actually follow that and do the same thing.
Thing is, with Japan, there's so many options for you for entertainment, and sport is entertainment at the end of the day. And I think when you see that they have to fight against the baseball, which is huge, soccer, which is huge, anything's going on during any weekend of Tokyo. It's such a big city. You have to fight with that, so they have to get you know, unique ways of trying to get people in. Lots of women, lots of families, a real diverse crowd compared to probably what South Africa and definitely what New Zealand is, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. Then for another aspect of the Japanese game, or what the team's going to expect in Japan, is I know the climate is going to be a little bit hotter than a lot of teams are used to. Yeah. What degrees Celsius do you think games are going to be played in, more or less, and what unforeseen things might catch the teams out?
Well, I think you great point there. At the start of the tournament, it's going to be hot, and even next week for the South African game, geez, they're going to play in the hottest area of Japan. It's like the desert out there. It's going to be so muggy, and what you find that people do struggle with here, and I still do after 16 years, is the mugginess, the absolute humidity of it all. I have to get out during August. It's just, you just can't spend time in Tokyo in this concrete jungle to try and live. You're living in air conditioning for a good 2 or 3 months of the year. Just to be comfortable, so it does tire you out. That would be one thing. Living in an air-conditioned hotel for how long? 2.5 months, 3 months. It does tire you out. It's a surprising little thing that they might have struggle with. Also, weather events, typhoons. I've got a stat here that there's pretty much what is it here? 2018 there was 2 typhoons during this time. 2017 2 typhoons, 4 in 2016. There was a massive 6 down in 2013. There's typhoons coming through during this tournament, and that could affect the pool games. If it gets called off, they split the points. So it's a real thing to really worry about.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that. I didn't even know they split the points. Wow.
Don't get me started about earthquakes too. Earthquakes happen. You know, you're in this real live environment, and it could happen, and it might. So you got to factor into that in account.
Wow,
it's a very tough thing.
It's different. It's a lot different than other places.
Very different. Yeah.
Well, so there's a different climate. There's different things to get to know. The Springboks, especially, they are flying out, or they flew out now on last Friday. Are they gonna be more prepared or less prepared than other teams? I know because they're flying out earlier, that might help them to acclimatize.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage might be being away from family and stuff like that for a long time. What's your opinion on that?
I think it is definitely a different country to come to for maybe a Western-based society, to understand a little bit about stuff, but also to get used to it. I found when I first came, I was really tired all the time, and it was not because of anything that I changed in my lifestyle or anything. It was just being in that Japanese environment, I think, 24/7 without any sort of break. So they're going to have to really try and, how do you say it, try and bring a little bit of home with them, I think, and that's a real key there. But it's the same level field for all of the teams, bar Japan. So I think that's fine. I also have realised that there's 11 guys in the squad, in the South African squad, that have played in Japan before as well. So they've definitely got that, they know what to expect, I think, and they could probably help their team out as well. They probably know a good couple of bars to go to as well, which is always good for team bonding, and restaurants. But there's, I'm sure they love their Kobe beef when they go down there. So it's going to be, I think the South African, Australian, Argentinians even, and of course the Kiwis as well, they're going to be at an advantage over the other guys, the Northern Hemisphere, that don't travel here as much and don't know what to expect. So yeah, I think, I mean, it's 50-50. It can go either way.
Yeah, true. We'll see how it goes with that. Getting on the Boks, how do you think they are going at the moment? Because they are certainly on the up. If you compare them to last year or the year before this time, they are on the up. How do you think they'll fare in this competition? Do you think they have a better shot than they would have maybe last year this time?
Oh, definitely. Huge. I mean, compared to someone like an Ireland, you know, they're on the down. You know, South Africa's definitely on the up. But also at the same time, I think these warm-up games you can't read too much into them, and I think stats have previously seen that in the Rugby World Cup year. There's that stat that if you win the Tri-Nations or what it was, or the Rugby Championship, you don't go on to win the Rugby World Cup. It's really bizarre. Yeah. But I can kind of see that stat being, you know, real, and the fact that, you know, if you do have a loss, it really does switch that mindset and makes it real for that team. And so in that way, but I think South Africa they weren't perfect in that Rugby Championship either, and I think they're also realising that they were trying things out. You know, they brought that young nine in, you know, to see how he go, and he performed, and so it could have gone either way. He could have had a shocker, but they would have learnt from that and moved forward. And I think they're in a really good position, because they've actually, what they've got out of it, they've got wins out of it. They won the Rugby Championship, and they were fine in doing it as well. But they actually learnt a lot from those games, I think, moving forward. And they've got a bloody strong team.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's actually good what Rassie Erasmus has put into the team. He's, like I said, win at all costs. That's the minimum. We need to win. Doesn't matter what, we need to win. So that's a kind of good mindset he brought into the team. And also with the winning, he also kind of said, with every win, we should learn something from that.
Yeah, it's definitely the way all teams are moving forward these days. They're all doing the same training, yeah. They're all very similar build. You know, of course there are freaks in there as well, but it's all up here these days. And I think really the All Blacks, even after they, you know, this is moving back before 2011. And after the 2007 World Cup, they really did focus on that psychological thing a lot more than anyone else. And I think it really started to pay off in those years, and people only just starting to really catch up to that and putting a lot more effort into that psychological, keeping the players in a good mindset to get some quality rugby out of them. And if they're not playing quality rugby, what can they learn from that and move forward from that, and trying to keep that sort of positivity in the group, even though there might be a loss.
And that's an important thing for a team that wants to win any trophy, is to build on every game, no matter if it's a loss or a win.
Yeah, I'm definitely all about that psychological side for sure, and as in any team.
Okay, that's good. For Japan, though, how do you think they will go in this World Cup compared to in 2015?
So they had the team come out yesterday, and they're looking really good. It wasn't really any surprises in that respect. They've gone very similar to what they had in the Pacific Nations Cup, and I think that they've definitely done really well and I think it's through that Pacific Nations Cup, a lot of people were really worried about that they hadn't had enough time in Super Rugby, and that Jamie Joseph had kept them out of it, and it was going to be at a disadvantage. But I think it really showed the world that they are ready. They beat Fiji by being more Fiji than Fiji. It was an impressive game to watch. Unfortunately, I guess some of the South African guys couldn't see that on the telly. But wow, what a game. It was just a really cool game to watch, and it wasn't all one-sided, but geez, they looked dominant. They looked tier one like in all three of their victories as well. Against Tonga, they dominated. USA, who was actually on the rise, they just put everyone in their place, and they had a game plan for all of it. They bred a lot of all of their 31 through in that. Yeah, it's just really looking good and not looking on the up. I think They will struggle against the South Africans next week, but I think that'll be a good thing. It'll be a real reset, like we're talking about before, psychological-wise. It's going to be a win-win situation for Japan. If they push the Boks, they're going to get a lot of confidence out of that. If they lose, even get shellacked by the Boks, they're going to have a reset to move forward to go into the World Cup with that. And I think it's just really all positive for them at the moment. I think Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown have done a really good job of creating that good team environment where, like you said, really having work-ons, going out and doing it, having good team bonding atmosphere for a bunch of guys that are from all around the world to really gel together and work really well and do some quality rugby, which they are playing.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a win-win basically for Japan. And this could basically be a lose-lose for the Springboks. If they lose this one, it could be a massive one. I don't know if you know how badly the South Africans take a loss. It is quite bad.
I remember three and a half years ago was a pretty good indicator, I think. So, yeah. I mean, there's not many teams that have a 100% win rate against the South Africans, so do be wary of that. So yeah. I think they want revenge on that one for sure.
Yeah, that's quite funny. I saw a stat yesterday of the South Africans have won 36 World Cup games and they've lost 6.
Yeah.
And then one guy commented to it, one of them are to Japan.
Oh yeah.
So we should always remember that. And the Springboks are going to remember that one. So Japan should be ready for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think Japan will be definitely ready for it. That's why we put you in the hottest place in Japan. So I think we're trying to swing it in our favour a little bit. So
swinging it in your favour a little bit. But that's good. Playing in the worst place you possibly can at the first game or your warm-up game, play it like that. I think that's going to be pretty good for them.
Do you think they'll put a first team out?
I've actually been thinking about it, and I think they will.
Yeah, I think they will as well. I think Japan will as well, maybe. I think they'll really go for trying to go for those combinations that they want when they're hitting the ground running, you know, and I think it's the last chance to do it.
Yeah, look, Rassie is going to do the Team A, Team B thing throughout the World Cup. He said it already.
Yeah.
And our first game is against New Zealand. So the only reason I might think he might do a B team is because of that first game against New Zealand. But that's still a couple of weeks ago. To go. So I think he might want to put the first team out, get that combos going still. Because there is still a couple of questions. There's still a couple of guys that hasn't really done a lot on the field. They have their big names behind them, but they haven't really fired. So I think big team.
Yeah, I think it'll be good as well, and a really good challenge for Japan to actually face Tier 1. And they have faced all Tier 1 nations in this Rugby World Cup cycle as well, and this will be their last team that they actually do face. So they're really showing, you know, the how do you say it? They want to try their hand against these Tier 1 nations. Hasn't been as successful, I think, as what they probably would imagine. But they drew against France in this cycle. They bet Italy quite convincingly. They almost pushed Wales, just lost by 3 points in the last minute. And yeah, they've definitely been there. I mean, they scored 5 tries against the All Blacks. They're one of the only teams that have ever done that. And I mean, they did lose by over 60, but still, I mean, who hasn't lost by around that score to an All Black side, you know? Yeah.
And I mean, since the last World Cup, the Japanese has been playing Super Rugby for 4 years now.
Yeah.
So that they've been playing against some of the best players year in, year out. It maybe hasn't went their way yet, but there's certainly things that they have learnt since then.
I think you should take Super Rugby form with a little bit of a pinch of salt as well, you know. And I think just having that game time in a Super Rugby environment is just key for any team, I think, moving forward, because it's such a quality competition. And a lot of Super Rugby teams would probably go ahead and win the World Cup, to be honest. You know, they're that good. But you know, I think the Sunwolves, they had a lot of issues around contracting players and stuff, and that, you know, I've said this before. It's a bit of a shame that they had this opportunity and really didn't take it with two hands.
Yeah.
But you know, they still have had, I think out of the squad, 29 out of 31 in the Japanese squad have had Super Rugby experience. The other two played in the Wolfpack this year, and you know, I mean, that's still better than what the top league could ever do. And I think that's definitely going to flow on to their performance, and it has already.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that the top league contracts kind of was overshadowing the Super Rugby player contracts, if I understand it correctly from some of the videos that I watched from you. It's kind of the top league comes first, and then the Super Rugby came second. Yeah,
well, they're paying the money, so you gotta respect that. And I think that's the same with any Pacific Island person, you know, playing in the Northern Hemisphere. It's just unfortunate that they're bound by a contract. They'd love to come and play for their country a lot more than they do. But I think that's what holds it back, and I think people don't really understand. They think they call it eligibility and so on and so forth, but it's down to money at the end of the day, and I think it's just a real shame that to represent your country, it has to come down to money. And I think South Africa as well have issues with that, do they not? I mean, they've got a lot of players overseas now, and they had to call them back.
But it's a kind of for the good. Rassie did kind of the same thing that the Argentinians did. If there's a player or lacking a little bit of depth in a certain player in a certain position, you can go search for it overseas, and that's basically what they were doing.
Yep, and that's smart. That's just common sense. I think that's where New Zealand will eventually go, and they already have sort of in a way. Last year, Matt Todd was playing here in Japan, and they basically called him back as injury cover, and it's probably one of the first instances outside of an actual contractual, what do they call it, hiatus away from the game that they've put into their contract, like a Dan Carter rule and all that sort of stuff. It was the first time that they'd actually brought someone back from overseas to come play in the All Blacks, and it was a real, you know, it was probably not that well publicised, but it is a little bit of a turning point in that the staunch, we're only going to select New Zealand players, you know, playing in New Zealand.
Touching on New Zealand, how do you think they will fare in the World Cup? Do you think they're still favourites? Because there's a lot of videos going out, like Squidge Rugby. I don't know if you watch his.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Are they still favourites? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can't discount the Kiwis, and I think a real exclamation mark was that Australian game, the last one. It wasn't the scoreline, it was the stuff you saw in the game. It was just like, whoa, hold on. Okay, they've really turned it up a notch. And I think there was one moment, I think early 20 minutes, if you'd watched the game, they were defending on their line. I've never seen that sort of, you know, intensity from that team all year. And it was just really, sort of, as a Kiwi supporter, it was really good to see. That is like, all right, okay, they're really up for it. That 0 mark on that score sheet was huge.
Yeah, that was huge. I think a huge thing in that game, though, was the psychological factor of Australia actually coming into the game as well. I think they were a little bit more confident than they should have been. They should have approached it exactly the same way they approached the previous game. And that's kind of what happened as well in that game. So like you said, you can't read too much into that scoreline, because there's a... I mean, there was a point where Australia looked like, just giving up, just let them play, the game's almost over. You know, that's a big factor. But yes, New Zealand is still favourites in my books as well.
Who's number 2, you reckon?
It's a close one. I would say at the moment, probably England.
Yeah, it's not far off. I think South Africa and England bracketed together for sure.
Very close, very close. And it's very close, actually.
It's funny how we didn't say Wales, though.
Yeah, no. No. Wales might be ranked number 1, but they aren't there yet in my books.
I think they'll... Geez, I mean, semi-final at best, maybe? I think just... And that's pure, you know, I should really look into the Welsh team a lot more, and the Northern Hemisphere in general, but just I have a feeling that at big tournaments, Ireland as well, included in this, they don't quite have that factor of going straight to the final, and the only ones that do are France. They have that you know, that heart when it is needed the most, and not only just one game, 3 games in a row. Yeah, so it's got to be you know, at least 2 to get to that final from the quarter stage. So
yeah, and it's true what you're saying there. The Welsh doesn't have like a history of really showing up in the playoff stages of the World Cup, but it could start somewhere, you know. So
I mean, I think anyone in that top 10, if not even down to even USA, down to, you know, the top 14, those teams can win on their day.
Yeah,
and have proven that. USA beat Scotland last year. They're coming up as well. The gap between tier 1 and tier 2 is definitely closing, and it has been closing for the last few years. And I think anyone in that top tier as well, geez, they could go on. They could have a good run of it and go on and win the World Cup. It's all you need. And I think, and to be honest, okay, yeah, New Zealand are favourites. Yeah, I'd say South Africa and England definitely second or third in that, no particular order there. But geez, any one of those teams could really come through and win this. Even Australia, you know, it's after what they were.
They can surprise. They have history. They have that history of playoff games. The thing is, I think the gap between basically all the teams have closed. It's not just between tier 1, tier 2 and New Zealand and the rest of the teams. I think all the teams are kind of closely packed together, because in the last few years the Northern Hemisphere has kind of caught up to the Southern Hemisphere in the sense that they are playing a lot of similar type of games.
Yeah.
And what is quite interesting, I've seen a little bit of a change with the Welsh sides and so on, with playing in South Africa in the Pro 14.
Yeah.
They are kind of playing a more expansive rugby when they get here. And that's kind of been shifting their type of play as well. And the Welsh do have a great record in the last year. I think that it's 14 out of 15 games or something like that.
Yeah, that's why they're number 1. It's pure results based, and it's good to see they've actually gone ahead and beaten good teams too. When they are deemed quite, you know, Ireland were deemed best team in the world last year, and they went ahead and destroyed them. This weekend will be interesting. I think Wales have kind of gone for that B team approach, if you've seen the teams.
Yeah.
But Ireland have gone the opposite and gone real sort of A team. So it'll be really interesting to see how that actually pans out during the game.
I think it's kind of a moment where the Welsh has already done what they need to for the World Cup. The Irish, they're still testing out certain things. They're not ready for the World Cup yet. Yeah. They need to test out their A team every single time they can.
Yeah, those results, recent results, especially for Ireland, Scotland, and the Japanese pool, man, rubbing my hands together just quietly, you know, there's a chance. You're giving these teams a sniff, or, you know, they're going to try and take it, you know. And I think, personally, a lot of people don't even see it, but I think that Japan will target Ireland as well as Scotland in these games, because they have to. They have to go in with that mindset that they can beat all of the teams in their pool. Otherwise, you know, and you saw that at the last World Cup. That's why they went on to beat South Africa. They targeted you guys. It was amazing.
Yeah.
No one else had seen it. No one else had ever predict that. But they were that confident.
Catching the other side off guard.
Yeah.
No one expected Japan to go for it, and they actually did, and then that's what happened.
Australia versus New Zealand too. So, you know, that was a real shock for a lot of Kiwis, and it's good. You need that.
Yeah, it's massive. What do you think about Australia?
Well,
if I look at their record this season, I don't know what to make of it, how to call their World Cup at all.
I think it's like their coach, mate. You just don't know which person's going to turn up, and I think in that alone, it's very hard to prepare against. And they've got a good team too. They're no slouches. They've got a good team together. I really like their tight 5 at the moment. It's very, very dynamic, and you should see that they're getting the advantage line they were gaining in that first New Zealand game. It was just like, wow, where did these guys come from, you know? And I think it's the backbone is mostly of the Brumbies, how they played very good rugby this year, and they're sort of very dominant in that tight 5 as well, with a few smatterings of other people in there, Latu as well. And I think, they can, like I said, they can turn up and definitely, they'll probably get out of their pool, I think. They're more, getting out of their pool than what I'd be confident with Wales, and that's, you know, that's saying something.
I think their big issue is at number 10 at the moment. Look, I really like Lealifano just because of his story and all that stuff. He is a good player, but I don't think the type of play that Australia wants is exactly what he's doing. But then on the other hand, Foley, he's not been doing anything this whole season. So I think their number 10 has been a little bit of an issue. And I just don't know how they would solve that. Lealifano, to me, is the guy, he is the right answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think having Lealifano there as well is pressure on Foley to perform too. And I think he hasn't really had that sort of in this Rugby World Cup cycle at all, you know. Who was behind him? Quade Cooper? I mean, that's, you know, you're taking a gamble on a guy that is a real confidence player, and it was shown previous World Cup that he was as well. And I think I think Foley just had a good run of it, and, you know, lucky for him that there was no one really pushing him. You know, James O'Connor coming back, it's kind of bizarre that they're putting, in the media anyway, they're beating him up as this guy that's going to save, you know, Australian rugby, and he's played well, but I still don't think he's the answer, you know. It's quite a bizarre thing, but I think they're getting a good team together. With time, they're going to get better and better. They've had good results. They've had a good loss to reflect on. They're a Tier 1 nation. They're a good team. They'll get forward. And I think that the selector on top of Cheika has worked. And the guy coming in from Scotland, I've forgotten his name. But that has worked in the last year, and it's actually kept Cheika in line. And I think his selection was probably one of his weaknesses. He's definitely favouring New South Wales a lot more than he probably should have. And I think that's really good, and he's actually listened to this guy that's come in, and it's definitely shown in performance.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. It's a lot less Waratahs players there than in the past. And then Argentina, that's the one I want to talk about. It's my second favorite team. I am South Africa, Argentina, so I want to talk about them. How do you think they will do, especially with that? They haven't done anything in the international stages this year, but in the Super Rugby, they got to the finals. What do you think about that?
I think it just shows that Super Rugby form is not a good predictor for international. And I think I've got a stat of theirs. They've only won 12% of their games for internationals in this World Cup cycle. And that's not much. That is sacking coach sort of numbers, you know. But you know, I think, come on, they're going to turn up. They always do at the World Cup. That team that just turn up. They made the semis last time. I think they have every right to make the semis again this time. I'm just a bit worried that they might be a little bit underdone, and they're a little bit tired, I thought, coming into the World Cup. I hope they have a decent break, because they've been playing Super Rugby. They played it at 100 miles an hour. They did rotate their team quite well, I thought.
Yeah, every week.
But I think also that's still tiring. They're still training. They're still doing the same training. They're not having the same rest. They travelled a lot. I think in the Squidge Rugby one, that sort of, if you've seen it on Argentina, that they're going to be in one place, which is kind of good. And I think when they are in one place and they're going to be, you know, travel fit and ready, and if they're rested up, I think they're gonna cause a lot of trouble for any team, and especially the northern teams as well, because the style of rugby they do play is fantastic, and it's definitely one that can beat the northerners.
No, I think so as well. They have a good blend of European stars as well, and guys from the Jaguares. There's a few guys that is missing some really big names like Issa and Cordero and Imhoff. Those guys haven't been included, but
I think Bonejo was one of the biggest losses. Why did they not take him? I couldn't believe it. I think he's playing better than what's his name, Nicholas Sanchez. Sorry, you know, why did they not start him? And I just can't believe it in that rugby championship.
It's actually really bad for them, because I do like Bonejo as well. I think they could take Sanchez though. The guy on the bench, Urda Paletta, he's it's a veteran player. He hasn't really done anything. I think they might have took him because he could play in inside centre as well, but
yeah, that versatility thing, eh?
yeah, I wouldn't have picked him. I would have went with Bonilla as either. He was better for me in this whole Super Rugby. I mean, he's the main reason they actually got to a Super Rugby final. No one else was.
His kicking game was just superior. It was probably one of the better kicking games out of all of Super Rugby this year. Purely, you know, great positional kicking, and it was just I can't believe that they didn't go that direction, because he's been kicking better than Sanchez as well. And of course, I guess they've gone for versatility and that bench, and I think a lot of teams have. Going back to the Japan team, 18 forwards and 13 backs, and they've got definitely forward heavy just because of their style that they're going to play. It's going to be at 1,000,000 miles an hour and unstructured. And all of their 13 backs, bar the scrum halves, can pretty much play any position in that back line. And, you know, I think the teams are generally doing that a lot more as well, that you have to be versatile. You have to play 2 or 3 positions. Laumapi didn't get in purely on that alone, I think. And it's a real shame, because Laumapi is probably the form centre and didn't get a place purely on that.
You know, I do dream teams on a weekly basis, and he was there almost every single week, just because of stats, tries, and try assists. Look, he doesn't do the thing that Sonny Bill does, where he passes the ball out wide or shifts the ball immediately. What his try assists are busting tackles, and then when he can't bust anyone anymore, he just pops it out, and that's his try assist.
Yeah,
he just plays differently.
Oh, he's a weapon.
You kind of have to play your game differently around him. And that's a big thing. Like in South Africa, we have Damien de Allende. Esterhuizen, who hasn't been picked. And then now Frans Steyn as well. It's kind of all of them kind of follow the same type of inside centre role. All of them are tackle busters. If you want the ball out wide, you play a different guy. You don't play him. You just kind of have to adapt your type of play.
Interesting. They've gone for definitely more experience, haven't they? And definitely Frans Steyn in there as well. Jesse Kriel, big fan of Jesse Kriel. Probably one of my favourite South African players. I think, you know, you guys got weapons and different types of weapons over the park, especially in that back line, and it's really it's going to be that first game. By the way, I'm going to New Zealand, South Africa, so I'm really looking forward to that game.
Are you going to that?
Oh yeah, wow, definitely going to that.
Jealous. I would want to go to that.
That atmosphere will be off the hook, I can tell you now. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of people are. We've got a whole day planned and a whole evening planned. I'm going to try and do a video of the experience, the fan experience, like I've done before, but I'm imagining it's gonna.
Yeah, that's always cool.
I'm imagining it's gonna take at least 2 weeks to make, because I'll be so bloody hungover after going to the game, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, I can think it's gonna be like that. Okay, so we've wrapped up kinda who we think is gonna do well, but let's say who's the 4 favorites for this one. The 4 favourites for this one, in your opinion?
Definitely New Zealand, definitely South Africa. I'll definitely go. I'd say England is there as well. That last spot, jeez, that's a real tough one, eh?
That's my point.
I would probably go Wales. Just purely, maybe, more so than Ireland.
Wales.
And more so than France, more so than Scotland.
Yeah.
Even Japan. I think Japan will do well, but I don't think they'll win it all. And they can't. You know, it'd be 3 massive games for them to do it. And I think it'll just be, you know, they could make a final. They could make a semi, for God's sake. But I don't think they'll go and win it all, even though they are at home, even though they're tracking really well.
Yeah, I think Japan will make playoffs. I think so. I really think so. But I have to agree with your 4 sides. But I just wanted to make that point of that 4th team. Who is that going to be? Because everyone's ranking that first top 3 guys. No one's actually looking at who's the number 4 guy. Because that guy can sneak in. That team can sneak in and win it. And it's going to be pretty interesting for me what's actually going to happen. And I think this is going to be one of the best World Cups in a few years, man.
Oh, by far. If the Cricket World Cup is anything to go by, it's going to be super exciting. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Tier 2 nations, which teams do you think we should look at? Which ones are going to surprise?
Like I said, the gap's closing. Japan, for sure. Their stat as well, they've only lost against one Tier 2 team in this Rugby World Cup cycle out of all those games, which is an amazing stat, by the way. They lost to Fiji, who is also a team that is going to be there and thereabouts, you know. They're tracking really well too. They beat the Māori. They played really well against Japan in Japan, where they're going to be playing as well one of their games.
Yeah,
they didn't play that bad. It was just they were beaten by a better team on the day. Yeah, Japan, Fiji, USA.
Really?
Yeah, I think that they'll cause a lot of trouble, and I think that their Major League Rugby, even though it's not at the same level as any other sort of competition, their Major League Rugby in the last couple of years has really made strides into their team and building depth in their team as well, and having a lot of, not just 15 guys that can play, but they've got a whole 31-man squad now. And I think shown in I think out of all of the teams, they're the ones that have risen the most in the world rankings, if you're just based on that alone. And so it's very interesting. Georgia, maybe. They always seem to...
Georgia is a Rugby World Cup nation.
Yeah.
They are guys that pitch up in a World Cup.
Yes.
That's a point that we said a little bit earlier. They might not go that high, but according to where they should go, they really rise to the occasion in a World Cup year.
Yeah, I think during mid-cycle they're not as strong, but I think once they get all their players back from France, because they do play a lot in France as well. They had a couple of guys that were playing in Super Rugby. Brigvadze was playing for the Sunwolves. He'll have that experience. They're going to have a good team and a well-balanced team, I think, by the time they get in there. And they're going to all of that. Those third-ranked teams in those pools, they're all going to push those top two teams, I think. And it's going to be good to watch. It's going to be great watching.
It's going to be a great World Cup. I just can't wait. This video has made me more excited for it now.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
Dude, we can talk forever. I just want to have your last opinions on next week's game against Japan, South Africa.
Bring it on.
What is your prediction? How do you think the game is going to go? Because I do predictions, as you know. I always call my... points at the end. It's very risky for me, but it works.
It's always risky.
What do you think is going to happen? How do you think the game is kind of going to go? And then what's going to be the score at the end?
I think Japan is going to play their speed game, and they're going to hit rucks a lot harder than they always have. They're going to go for a kicking game, very similar, and kick well. When they have ball in hand, they're going to spin it. They're going to try and run the South African forwards off their feet and turn the backs as well at the right time, which they have been doing through their key man, Tamura, their number 10. They're using halfbacks very well as well. It'd be interesting to see who will start the game, but I'm imagining Shigeno Kaito, who played for the Sunwolves this year, one of the standout players for the Sunwolves. He's got really quick ball, has very good direction from the back of the ruck as well. Knows when to kick, has been kicking well. I think the forwards as well, they are a lot like in previous years compared to previous eras. They always were, even in the last South African game at the World Cup, they were always, slipping tackles and letting the big boys through. But now the physicality is just that whole step above now, and I think that they'll try and match the South Africans head on, and it's going to be a physical game. I think the South African public probably don't realise how physical this game is going to be, and I think they're really going to push that. The weather is hot and going to really try and tire these guys out, and I think if they
tired those lungs out,
if they can control the game, which could be feasible, especially in the first half, I think you'll see a very similar scoreline to the England game last year, where Japan were ahead at the half. And I think that they might even just go a bit too full on in that respect, and I think South Africa will take over in the latter stages of the game. But it could go either way. I mean, South Africa could come out, control the game, get that scoreboard pressure at the start, and then Japan would probably try and throw it around, try and push those marginal passes, and then a scoreline could, you know, blow out, which happened in the Australian game, which happened in the New Zealand game, and the Argentinian game. So, man, I'm in 50-50. The heart, I think Japan will sneak it by 2, just like they did 3.5 years ago. And it'll be similar scrum. They'll keep scrumming on the line. They won't go for the penalty. They're going to go for the win. That's the heart speaking. Now, the head, I think South Africa should take this by at least 2 tries. But I think the Japanese will surprise a lot of the South African public, and I think that'll be a good thing for both teams, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be good for both teams as well. I think I really agree with what Japan's going to do. I agree with you there as well. South Africa is going to do the same thing, going to be hard up front. They've been doing it the whole time. But I think in this game, they're not going to spread the ball. I'm also thinking they're going to play a kicking game.
Yep.
With Pollard, they're going to be kicking the ball into the corners and then run the ball in their half.
Yep.
So when they are on attack, then they will be running the ball. And there's a big talk of shifting Cheslin Colby to the left wing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And playing Sabu Nkosi on the right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Because those two have been the in-form wings, and they are both right wingers.
Yep.
So they've been pushing each other. So, and Colby could play fullback as well, so he actually does have the potential to shift over. So having those two wingers out wide, Krill maybe on outside centre instead of is a very good defensive organizer, very good against big teams like New Zealand and those guys. You want in the side. He's very good with his organization. With Japan, maybe Krill at 13, then you kind of need that attacking edge, a little bit more of creativity on attack, and that's where Krill comes in. And it's very good for South Africa to have 2 options there. And then, of course, Frans staying on the bench again. If we need those couple of points in the last 20 minutes, you just slot him on. He can take the penalties from 60, 70 meters wide.
Easily. Yeah. It's a great... Krill, definitely. I'd start Krill for sure. Arm's great. But yeah, I think Krill will really do more damage, I think, to the Japanese team than Arm would. My
score, I would call South Africa by 5.
By 5?
Yeah.
Interesting.
South Africa by 5.
Interesting.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Both teams are going to score a couple of tries in this one. I think the Japanese are going to try and run it a couple of times and then kind of shift over to a more pragmatic game and go for the poles a couple of times, rather just score, make some points. That's my call for the game.
Good call. Good call. Yeah, I think what you brought in there, I think Japan, even from a year ago, they were always unstructured. They never knew when to go for the penalty or go for those 3 points when they should take them. And I think they've really changed their game a little bit towards a little bit more of a tier 1 side where they do take the points on offer. They're a little bit more structured. Their scrum is actually a lot better than I imagine, and they've got a lot of young props as well, which will get good experience out of this game. I think that's where they're lacking a little bit, is the experience, I think, but this is just going to help them move forward.
Yeah.
Kenki Fukuoka on the wing. Watch out for that guy. He is on fire at the moment. You should, if you've probably seen some highlights, I'm sure, at the moment, it's just like, wow.
Is he left wing or right wing?
He's left wing.
Left wing, so he's going up against our best winger, basically, because our right winger is going to be our best.
Yep. Oh, he has...
It's going to be interesting.
He is going to probably leave him for dust one time at least, I think. Just purely on his step, his change of pace. He's bloody good. He's probably one of the most underestimated and undervalued wings in rugby, in world rugby at the moment, I think.
Yeah, and I expect the same thing's going to happen after this World Cup again. After this World Cup, a bunch of Japanese players are going to get French contracts and Super Rugby contracts with other teams. And because then everyone all of a sudden sees what talent actually lies in Japan.
I talked to the Super Rugby, the Sunwolves CEO, just randomly, and he was saying that he wants to, because the Super Rugby is going to be sort of finished in a way, he wants to get more Japanese players playing overseas, and he wants to help them with contracts in New Zealand. even with Mitre 10 rugby sides, it's going to be good. They've got a couple over there at the moment. Tatekawa, as you probably realised from the last World Cup, who played against you, he's actually playing in Otago at the moment. Uchida Keisuke, who is playing for the Tasman team and doing really well off the bench, and he probably will get a start, and they're going to probably win this year in the Mitre 10 Cup. These guys fit in well with New Zealand rugby because they've been, coached by and influenced a lot by New Zealand coaches, I think, in the last few years.
And that's very interesting, man. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. It's a very long video. I think it's the longest video I'll ever post in my life, but I think it's going to be a good one.
Excellent.
I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks Imbiber for coming onto the channel and giving us your inputs from a Japanese and a New Zealand side. We'll talk again soon. Hopefully we can do one in the future again.
Yeah, no worries, bro. Thanks for the opportunity too. And yeah, if you want to come join me over here, if you're in South Africa and are interested, come along to the channel and have a look.
Guys, that was a really long video. I hope you liked it. I hope you sat through the whole thing, and then if you did like the video, please hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Let's get to that 400 mark before the World Cup. Cheers.